Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sulani Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sulani.
Okay, welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest for this session is Rob Chase, who's currently serving as Spokane County Commissioner and running for re-election. Welcome, Rob.
Well, thank you, Sulani. Actually, I'm serving as Spokane County Treasurer, but I'm running for Commissioner.
You're running
That's
for
okay.
Commissioner.
Right.
You're serving as Treasurer, running for Commissioner. Okay, got it straight now. Should have written that down on my piece of paper.
Well, I've been doing so much doorbelling, sometimes I'll introduce myself and say I'm running for Spokane County Treasurer instead of Commissioner, because that's what I was used to saying 4 years ago.
Well, it'll be clear on the ballot. We can all find it there.
That's true.
And speaking of the ballot, part of the reason for this program is to let people be introduced to all those names that will be on the ballot and find a little bit about them. Mm-hmm. So tell us about where you grew up and got your early schooling.
Well, I was born at a very young age.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I know, good way to start out. But I was born in Denver. My father was in mining. And so the first several years we lived in Colorado. And then we actually moved to Spokane in '59. And we lived kind of up on Bernard there for a few months. And then we moved to Seattle. I spent the next 10 years growing up in Seattle. So when I was 15, we moved to Kellogg, Idaho, and the difference was just amazing. It was like the best thing that ever happened to me. I loved the rural area. You know, I always kind of wanted to go camping and everything. We just had Green Lake, in downtown Seattle, but I would look at the Olympics and the Cascades and Mount Rainier and sort of had a longing, for that. And then suddenly, there's like elk in our backyard, and it was just a dream come true, and I had true freedom. Then I moved to Spokane during Expo 74, and I hadn't planned on staying, but I never left. I've been here for quite a while now, and it's been a wonderful place to raise our kids, and I plan on never leaving. So I've pretty much been in the Northwest all of my life.
Okay. Did you do some other education and training after high school?
Well, I went to University of Idaho right out of, Kellogg High School, and I just couldn't figure out, a couple of years, I couldn't figure out what to do. Nothing really stood out. Mm-hmm. I admire people who suddenly, they know they've always wanted to be an electrician or something like that, and I just nothing. I was interested a lot in a little bit in a lot of things, but so I was like a mile wide and an inch thick. So I think that's a good background for commissioners. I've been in a lot of different areas. I've been in, of course, mining, smelting, but also electronics and insurance and real estate and mortgage. And then it all kind of came together in the treasurer's office. I thought this has a little bit of everything in it, systems and all that. So the treasurer's office was just a wonderful step. I never in my life thought I'd be able to serve like this. I won as a write-in, and my whole goal was to be remembered as a good treasurer. I think I will be remembered as a good treasurer, and hopefully I'll be elected and be remembered as a good commissioner too.
Okay. We talked a little bit before we sat down about places that you've traveled, and you mentioned that you had traveled to Israel and Europe. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was kind of a history buff. My parents were too. So in 1974, we went to Greece and looked up. My mother's father was Greek, and we looked up his little village, and you could barely find it. It was kind of inside of a little mountain range, and I think they're probably hiding from the Turks, and just stuck around there. But, suddenly they couldn't speak any English, and my mom could speak a tiny bit of Greek, but we had a letter from the Greek priest here, Father Vilas at the time, introducing, saying who we are. Well, even though we couldn't speak the same language, they threw out a huge feast and everything, and I think they expected us to stay, but we had to get back to catch our boat over to Italy too. But I always wanted to go back there. In fact, I had a third cousin they were trying to get me to marry so she could come over here, and it was pretty close, but then I married my wife instead.
I'm sure your wife appreciates that.
Yeah. But we went to Italy and took the Ural train over to Switzerland and Austria and Paris, France. And we had friends in England. We stayed up by Nottingham for a few days, but I think if I ever went on a big vacation again, I'd probably go back to Europe. My wife would probably go to Hawaii, but I'd go to Europe, and we'd enjoy it. We each have a great vacation.
There's some things that you've observed on those trips that you think are come back to help you with the job?
Well, at that time, I really wasn't that interested in politics, or that type of working. I think I wanted to be an Indiana Jones type guy, but I never saw the ad in the paper for how to do that. So, but eventually, you wouldn't have insurance agents or bookkeepers or things like that unless people didn't know what to do with their lives. But you got to do something, so we kind of gravitate towards those things. And like I said, when I got into the treasurer's office, well, when I was running for treasurer, someone suggested, well, there's nobody running for treasurer. You should, do the write-in thing and see what happens. So I felt, well, gosh, don't you have to be a CPA? And I know nothing about the job itself. And but the nice thing was no one else did either. So I got in there, but I knew people that worked there, had worked there. You could add it all their years. They were there for centuries. So I asked them, what needs to be done here? So we formed teams with my deputy treasurer, Mike Volz, and we used a lot of the lean management things, for public services, and really worked out. So we made some great changes, by including the people. But when I started, the line at Tax Rush went down the stairwell at the courthouse, and now there's never more than 5 or 6 people in line. The big thing we did, we got partial payments passed. So it used to be you could only pay twice a year, once April 30th, and then again, this is how old it was, you could pay in the fall when your crops came in. It had never been changed. And a lot of people acted like the sky was going to fall if we did that, but our cashiers love it. They don't have to send checks back to people that don't pay the right amount. They just deposit them, and the taxpayers like it too. If they have a life event or they're seasonal or they're, for instance, on commission, then they can make payments to fit their budget too. So it's been a pretty good thing. Yeah. But I did take a term limits pledge when I ran the first time. I said I would serve for 2 terms, and as much as I love the treasurer's office, I will keep that pledge. So the commissioner spot opened when Shelley O'Quinn resigned, so I went for the appointment, but Mary Cuney got it from Governor Inslee, so I'm making a contest out of it.
Okay, well, I was going to ask that last question that you get to answer. How do you see the duties of this elected office for county commissioner, and why should voters choose you?
Well, I think because I do have a wide variety of experience. I've had my good times and bad times. I worked for my father for a long time, and we were always just hanging on. So he made a buck go farther as far as we could. We used to joke that if a Martian had a ray gun, he would shoot at our plant. They would remove everything except welding rod and duct tape would still be standing there. So I think that, and I think since I've been a good treasurer, I'll be a good commissioner, and I'm all about transparency too.
All right. I appreciate you coming in today, Rob, and I wish you good luck on your campaign season.
Thank you, Sulani.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.